So that,
All right.
yeah. Hello, good evening from here. And my name is Paul. You're welcome to Opinion Sharers. Today, we are going to be talking about something that is very, very important, and that is the issue of rape and sexual harassment. And the reason I'm talking about this topic today is because a series of issues has happened, especially recently in my country, Nigeria, that involve rape, sexual harassment, and in fact, one lady was killed as a result of this. And so, because of this, I think a lot of people have been talking about it on social media. News organizations have been talking about it. But I want us to do a little bit of education, a little bit of expository. So I have a lot of people with experiences here. Unfortunately for me, right now, all I have is women. I'm expecting a lawyer to join us, who is a male, to join us from the UK. So he said he's on his way. He's going to join us before we finish. And there's a princess who is going to be joining us from Nigeria. She had an impromptu meeting, so she's going to be joining us along the line too. So, but for my guests, please, if you can grab the link, can you share it so such that we'll be able to invite people to join us? So, just take a few seconds, if that is possible for you, if it will not disrupt the where you are. Please share the link, and for our viewers as well, please do share the link. I have very experienced people and professionals, you know, and they'll be talking and they'll be sharing their experiences and the knowledge. So, first of all, I want us to introduce ourselves. And I'll start with Madam Abi. Some people may know her because this is not her first time on Opinion Sharers. So I'm going to be starting with her. Madam Abi, please quickly introduce yourself.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Um, from good evening, and to those in a different part of the world, I say good day to you. My name is Abimbola. Um, I like to be called Abi Bash. That's my also known as. I'm a youth work coach. Um, I am an advocacy director of Best Buddy Scholarship and Hope Foundation. I'm a serial entrepreneur, a mother, and so on and so forth. We'll stop there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Abi. I'll go to Miss Ashwati. I call her Miss because she's my teacher, okay? So she's a PhD scholar, a social worker. So, Miss, please introduce yourself.
Hello. So my name is. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, but I can
Okay,
see
great.
half of your face.
Great. Okay, great.
Okay, it's better this
Hi.
way.
So my name is Ashwati. Like he mentioned, right now I'm a research scholar. I am an educator by passion, and I have an experience of working with children, especially students with special educational needs, for the past 6 years. So that's a bit about me. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss. So, just in case for the benefit of our viewers, Miss actually written extensively about children needing help. I mean, needing help with education and all of that. So, she's going to be sharing her experience with us today. She taught me an aspect of psychology which has to do with sexuality and sex, or sex education rather. So we are going to be touching down a little bit of that today. Thank you for joining us again, Miss. And then I have here Deepika. Deepika is my friend. She's my mentee, and she's someone that I spent 3 years of my life with. We are very, very close, as in very, very close. Deepika, introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, can you hear me properly, Paul?
Yes.
I'm sorry for the adjustment of the camera. So, hi everyone,
Okay.
I'm Deepika. As Paul told, we have done our graduation together from Amity, Bachelor's of Social Work. Right now, I'm doing a fellowship under SBI Foundation, and I'm working with some tribal kids in Odisha, along with adolescent health. That's it about me.
Thank you, Deepika. So Deepika, she's has some, rural experience recently. I mean, the kind of rural where she was not reachable. She has no internet. I think it's an experience that I believe that has turned her life around, even as a social worker. So she probably will be sharing some of that even tonight. And then you have Anne. Anne is also a friend and my classmate, my current classmate. Anne, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Anne and I'm from Delhi. As Paul said, I'm his classmate and I'm really glad to be here because from like since we were in, we had this offline mode, he's been telling me, would you like to be part of this? And I try so hard to, attend at least one session because it's like really interesting. And, Paul, I'm really happy that I'm here. So that's it about me. Thank you for having me here,
Thank,
Paul.
thank you so much, Anne. I'm very grateful. And, without wasting much time, I'm still waiting for those who will be joining us from the UK and from Nigeria. But while we wait for them, I'll go to this question. And my first question would go to Ms. Ashwarati. And the question is, can you please tell us a little bit about sexual abuse?
So it's actually a very vast and uh, rather than vast, I would say it's a very complex topic because in India, sexual abuse, like primarily from what I have experienced, what I've learned, what I have, heard about, is purely and like it's a manifestation of uh, elements of the patriarchy. For me, at least personally, when I speak about sexual abuse, it has always been caused by people who think that it is their way of controlling women, controlling children, controlling any person who they feel is inferior to them. And when it comes to sexual abuse, obviously, like, it becomes a lot more complex. It becomes invasive because invading the sexual area or even the personal space of a person is quite a very traumatic experience if I think about it. I as a child, like, if you are okay with me sharing my experience, um, my
Please go
personal
ahead if you want
experience.
to.
Yeah. So I am like, quite I have had quite a journey with that. But my experience with sexual abuse was when I was a child, when this uncle used to visit our house. And he was a distant relative, and for some reason, he used to uh, you know, uh, uh, find it, like, nice or intimate if he asked me to come, like, uh, sit on my lap. Like, he used to say it very casually. That time when I was very young, he used to say that. But then when I started growing up and he used to visit again, he used to end up saying the same thing, although, like, I was grown as person. He would still say that, and that gave me a lot of suspicion in terms of what his true intentions were. Um, Even now, like, for me, when I think about it, although I have overcome that trauma in my life, there are certain experiences which I have had where I don't allow people to, hold me, or, even like lay a finger on me. I'm extremely paranoid about people, uh, you know, touching me in any way. So I think that is one of the reasons why I feel the way I do feel about good touch, or any type of touch for that matter. That man ruined it for me. But over the years, I realized that a lot of our children don't really understand what sexual abuse really looks like. Like, for me, when I was a child, if I could go back in time to tell myself that, this is what what you're experiencing right now is sexual abuse, I would go back in a heartbeat. Because when you are young, you don't really know what it actually, it looks like, it sounds like, it feels like. And we don't read too much between the lines, because we are raised in an environment where everybody is considered to be family, right? And we don't realize that even the concept of family can be extremely disgusting at times. So sexual abuse for me is a form of a very uh, very invasive experience.
Okay, Miss, thank you very much for sharing that, even when it is personal. Now, I'm going to ask Miss Abby, and I will continue from where she stopped. She mentioned something, and I wanted to clarify with you because you are a mother of girls. Okay, so what is good? What is the difference between good and bad touch? You know,
Um,
you know. Do you
there,
do you hear? Do you hear
yeah,
what I said?
I can hear you.
Okay.
There is actually no good touch or bad touch. Any touch that you're doing, without my consent, without my knowledge. So I will assume you being an adult or maybe a child touching another child. So the way I teach my child is that anybody that is touching you, either your age mate, either a friend, girl, boy, adult, grown up, is an abuse. So don't touch me. That is the word. Respect my body. My body is my private property. So my body belongs to me, totally belongs to me. Anything from my head to my toe is my body. No touching whatsoever. So no good touching, no bad touching, unless I consent to it. Now, when do I have the right consent to that? At least I need to be 18 to know that, oh no, this is not good for me and this is not bad, this is bad for me. So anybody below 18, no touching. Now at 18, do I really understand? Just like she has said, do I really understand that the touching, that somebody is touching me, what does it mean? So is that education that we owe our children, our friends, our family? I was I will use the word, I was assaulted by a lesson teacher who is actually on Facebook, is a PhD holder. And each time that I hear the issue of rape, what comes to my mind is I could have been raped. And I wasn't raped because he wanted to rape me. I was raped because I was trying to fight for others. That why don't you tell your parents? And so, in the bid to keep me quiet, he he tricked me to come to the lesson. At the time, I was 17. I was fully, in a way, fully formed. Um, I used to use the word that I have the cogs in the right places. So because of that, I was a target. But the question he asked me was, why do you always tell others to report? Because I confronted him. And so, in a bid to keep me quiet, and that's why I'll still go with our definition that is all about patriarchy. I own your body. Why you this? Why do you have curves in right places? You shouldn't, because you do. That's why I deserve to to conquer you. So that is the definition for me. So any form of touch, head, shoulder, knees, toes, mouth, anywhere is an assault. Is an assault.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Now
you.
that's a dimension. I had engaged in a discussion or a kind of debate with
Mm-hmm.
some of my classmates a couple of years ago. I don't know, maybe Deepika could remember. We had a class together, and such a topic came up, and I found out that a lot of women actually think rape is majorly about patriarchy. And I'm not disagreeing, but I'm saying that there is maybe that is women's perspective, maybe. Okay, because I think often when they talk about patriarchy, it means you forget or you ignore the issue of biology. So I'm going to ask the speaker, for you as a woman, when we talk about rape, as a young woman, who is perhaps in a relationship, or soon you'll be expecting to be in a relationship, and looking at your experiences and all of that in this society, do you, when you think about rape, do you consider biology, or it's all about patriarchy? How do you see it? Sharing your personal perception now.
See, I completely agree with the fact that patriarchy has a lot to contribute to the factor of rape, assaults, and all the things that fall in line with that. But if we say that patriarchy is the only reason, we are excluding a lot of our friends and mates who are not female, maybe biologically, by birth, or in other ways. There are a lot of cases where a young men or trans women, trans men, all of these people go through a lot of assaults just because they are found to be weaker than the other person. It's not just about male feeling that okay, I can own your body. It is always about some person feeling more stronger than the other person. There are cases where females have molested or assaulted the male partners, or I'm not like denying the fact that patriarchy is obviously a very big reason. But I think, according to me, it's not just patriarchy, it's one person feeling more stronger than the other person and taking advantage of that because they feel that they hold a position where the other person won't complain or won't go against them, and they have this authority where they can just conquer the other person and take advantage of the situation and their vulnerability.
Okay, thank you, Difika. I'm going to ask Anne, how rampant do you think sexual abuse, rape, harassment, how rampant do you think it is? Maybe in this society and across the world?
Well, I cannot give a correct answer to it because even if most of the time cases are registered or like we tell other people, but not everyone tell their experiences of sexual assault to everyone. They keep it to themselves, so we don't know how like rampant it is. It might be like every day someone or the other might be experiencing this, and uh, so yeah, like it comes. So am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Oh,
You are.
okay. So like I said, most of the time, people do not confess, or like people do not uh, come out and tell that they have been sexually assaulted, because personally speaking, it took me what I think 4 or 5 years to tell my parents that something like this happened to me when I was a child, or like a close family friend of mine of our family did this to me, and it personally takes a lot of time for people to come out and say. So obviously every day there might be someone or the other who might be going through something like this. So on a day-to-day scale, like 1 out of 3 women, one in 3 women, they might they must have suffered from something like this in their life.
Hmm. Thank you, Anne. See, you see what she has said now is that even though she said, I don't know how rampant it is, but I didn't even discuss with her before, so I did not know whether Anne has such experience, and I'm sorry if I am, bringing these beautiful women out here, and it is okay if you don't want to talk about it, and I've spoken extensively with Deepika, spoken extensively with Madam Abi, and this is something that even me, I am trying to understand. Mark my word, I am trying to understand, because a lot of time I find out that we often assume that we know, but you find out that we don't often know as much as we think we know. Now I'm going to go back to Miss Ashwati, and there's a research. While preparing for this, I saw a research, and they believe that in most cases that 53 to 58% of children, especially children, when it happens to them, they don't tell their parents because of shame. You understand? That, like Anne is saying, that it took 5 years for her to even mention it to her parents. So, what is it that, in your experience, why is it that uh, children find it difficult? Maybe apart from shame, or what is it about shame even?
Um, I would say that as an Indian society, we attach a lot of stigma to these things. Sex education is not something we openly discuss. We always have these really so-called hilarious names for things that are very that should be discussed seriously. Like we whenever we are speaking with kids, we actually end up, naming our private parts something really funny, so that we remember it that way. And then even when we start actually hearing the actual names, the first thing that comes to our mind is like, oh, ha 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 ha. We have, as a society, as a mindset, we don't subscribe to the fact that call spade a spade. And it becomes even worse when it comes to sex education. So organically, what happens as a result of it is that when a child goes through something traumatic, most of the time he or she is not able to identify what it is. Even if they do identify what it is, and the parents have created an environment of safety in their homes to discuss these things openly, they still have that, like you said, a sense of shame, a sense of stigma that, okay, you know what, let's resolve it within ourselves. Let not other people know about it. However, I feel that we are moving towards a generation of people who do identify that it is important to address this from the word go, and not make it feel like it's a humongous task to talk to your uh, little kids or students about it. It has to be normalized, and we have to detach this idea of shame from talking about sex, talking about assault, talking about anything traumatic, because the more safe space we create in our homes itself, the more confident our kids will be when they grow up, and they will, they will say no where they are supposed to say no, instead of taking it on for the rest of their lives for no fault of their own. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I want to talk to the lawyer in our midst. When you look at the issue of rape, sexual harassment, or assault, a lot of us just confuse it together. But because of something that has happened in Nigeria recently, people have been shouting rape and rape and rape and rape, and then people are saying, okay, show us the proof. And then there was a video, a short clip of video of an adult, a movie actor who is perhaps between 40 and 50 years old, a very popular Yoruba actor, romancing a girl of 14 years, you know. And it was also reported that this guy actually assaulted or maybe raped this same girl 7 years ago. So, and it's been, people have been saying, okay, you guys should stop talking about it or stop calling it rape and all of those things. So I want to ask the lawyer here to help us with the issue of the difference between rape and maybe sexual molestation in the eyes of the law. Mr. Yemi, can you hear me?
Good afternoon, all.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, I'm not at home. I just quickly dash into a guy's place to attend to this program because
Thank you.
I'm in a transit. Anyway, people confuse and they um hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. The issue of sexual, we have many sexual offenses, but when the one of the elements of charges is if you charge someone inappropriately or incorrectly, it is possible the person may be exonerated or maybe let me use the legal word, maybe discharged and acquitted because you are not charging the person correctly. If there is a prima facie of rape, there are elements of rape, and you charge someone for sexual assault, there is a probability the person may get away with it. The definition of rape is that there must be a penetration of penis in the vagina. That is the definition of rape. And if these elements or the elements are not established, it will be difficult to charge someone for rape. And that is why all over the world, a woman cannot be charged for it because she doesn't possess penis. And looking at other offenses under sexual act, in the UK, sexual act, in Nigeria, we have other, but law is universal. The only thing that can be different is the punishment or the maybe the particular offense falls under limitation act. What I mean by limitation act is when a particular offense is settled back. That is, when it gets to a certain time, the period the offense has been committed, the case cannot be taken to court anymore. For example, and that is one of the mistakes they are making in Nigeria, which we still see as a lacuna in the law. For a grievous offense as rape, that when it is not reported within 3 months, that it cannot be taken up in the court of law. It's not like that. I study in the UK and I practice in the UK. It can be brought up at any time. But let's look at other offenses. If you look at sexual assault, we have rape, it tops the list. We have sexual assault, we have assault by penetration. What is the difference between sexual assault by penetration and rape? When you penetrate any object or item into the vagina, now the law has been amended. It includes even the mouth and the anus. Now, if you put any object in those openings, that is sexual assault by penetration. It can be finger, it can be anything. If you do it, that is sexual assault by penetration. But how do we establish all these offenses? They can be established when a particular element is absent, that is consent. Even an adult, you can rape an adult, you can commit sexual assault or sexual assault by penetration if the adult does not consent to the act. But there is an exception when it comes to an underage, a minor. Exception of consent does not arise. Either a minor consents or not. If prima facie of rape is established, it's rape. If it is assault, it is assault. Another age cannot give consent to the issue of sexual intercourse. Thank you.
Hmm. Okay, thank you so much. I know there's a lot of, I mean, law terminology, which we call jargon sometimes, but then we follow you and thank you for putting us to, which means if somebody has committed molestation and then that person is charged for rape, then the offender may actually go scot-free according to the law. So this is something that people needs to pay attention to. So we need to be able to call to title the offense, correctly, such that it goes directly as it should be. Another thing that I noticed also is the issue of time in Nigeria, especially in the eyes of the law. For instance, many women don't talk about it. According to research, that they don't talk about it, or children don't talk about it. Even adults don't talk about it as at the time it happens. You know, but then according to the law in Nigeria, for instance, I don't know. Deepika, do you have an idea of what the law is regarding that here in India, regarding time?
I don't think it's like this in India. You can complain. You can file a complaint even after 3 months, 1 year, 2 year, anytime.
Ah, that's good.
Yeah, there is no
That,
time limitation to this thing.
okay, that is good. I'm happy about that. Now let me go to another question on my list here. The issue of adults or young adults, because it is often said that okay, when you look at it, people are talking about child rape, but it also happened to young adults also, especially those who are in relationship, maybe boyfriend and girlfriend. You went to visit your boyfriend, and then he wants sex and the girl does not want sex. Often people don't report this as rape, or maybe they themselves don't even consider it rape. So I want to ask, maybe I would allow Anne and Deepika to respond to this. Deepika, you want to go first, and then Anne?
Uh, Sure, but Paul, I couldn't understand the whole question you were asking.
Okay, my question is, how do you see rape or sexual assault when it happens between two lovers?
It is rape. It doesn't matter if they are lovers or not. Like, there is some discussion. So, as
Uh,
we have already discussed in a lot of other discussions, if you remember, marital rape, how we say that in the eyes of law, it's not rape when it's between two people who are married. But that's not how it is. If it is not consensual, if it is against the wish of a person, no matter it's a lady or a man, it is rape. Being in a relationship doesn't give you a card to have sex with someone or to be physically close to someone. It needs consent of two people. So I think it is rape.
okay, so Anne, what is consent in this why in this wise between two lovers? So that I try to twist the question a little bit. What is consent? When is it consensual? When it's happening between lovers?
Well, first of all, I would like to start by following what Deepika said right now. So, in relationship, there can be, two. Um, how should I put it? There can be two type of people when they hear that there was some sort of that rape happened in a relationship. Firstly, it could be like, no, it's a relationship. There's no such thing as rape. It was like, you're the person. So how could it be rape basically? And second, it could be like you are in a relationship. You're too young. Like this is not allowed. What are you doing? Sex before marriage is wrong. So it could be like they will be shaming people, or the other people would be like they could be like oh, wanting it, you were just being shy, and so what? At least you're getting it. That could be that sort of reaction as well. So consent here comes when, it means no or yes. There's just two of these things. And if really speaking, if sorry, yeah, if truly speaking, I can give an example here. I'm not quite sure how well it would fit in this with this question though. But I had a friend of mine who was in a relationship with this person, and uh, people would ask them why, like, did you guys do it? Did you guys do it? But then, you know, it plays a part where con- sorry, Paul, I'm just a second.
Okay. Do I go and come back to you?
Can you hear me now?
No, I can't hear you now. Okay, Anne, I will come back to you, Anne. Let me go to, I want to ask both Miss Abi and Ashwati. And the question is, in Africa, I grew up in the village, okay? And the reason I'm emphasizing my growing up in the village is because it is easy for people who grew up in the village, in the rural area in Nigeria, to have sex compared to people who grew up in the cities. And I'll tell you how. Why? The reason is that most people who live in the city, they earn money in the city and come to build houses in the village where they don't live. And the implication of this is that you have empty houses, which means an average young boy of 16 years old or 17 years old already have a room to himself. Meanwhile, somebody who lives in the city, the house rent is very expensive. So, in fact, there are so many 25-year-old men or boys, young men in Nigeria in the cities who have no room of their own. And that makes it difficult for them to have sex unless maybe they go to an hotel. Now, I want to talk about negotiating consent. So how does people, young guys who are in a relationship, how do you negotiate sex such that you will not be offending the person? And I'm not saying, maybe I'm talking about girls now, even though somebody already dropped a message here. Why is it always about men? Because there are boys also, there are men also who have been victim of sexual assault or rape. When the woman demand and say, you just have to do it. And the guy maybe is not in the mood or doesn't want to do, or maybe there is a quarrel even. There may even be a quarrel, and because of that, you don't want to do. And the woman is saying, is insisting, you just have to do it. So it's also the same thing, whether male or female. So I'm asking you as adults, women, how should a man or a woman negotiate sex that will not resort to harassment? Because I'm thinking, like, honestly, if you asked me this question some years ago, I probably would tell you that it doesn't really make sense to say harassment between two people who are in a relationship. But I know better now. But I'm telling you that so many people out there who don't know. Madam Abi.
Okay, I will start with that question that was asked on the platform, which was talking about why are we talking about patriarchy alone and all that. It's not limited to patriarchy, but the major factor has something to do with patriarchy. Now, according to the research done by UNICEF in 2015, particularly for Nigeria, 1 in 4 girls get raped, whilst 1 in 10 boys get raped. So you can do the math from there. So I wouldn't worry about 1 in 10 boys that get raped. Not that I wouldn't worry per se, but the major problem there, as you can see, is 1 in 4 girls. It's a majority. Now, if we want to talk about the male factor, we can come back and talk about that. Now, in terms of your question, when you said the negotiation, I don't think we, being women or lady, will teach somebody how to negotiate. But the whole point is that there's no need for any negotiation. If someone says no, you can convince that person this is why. You can cajole a person to say yes or no. But the fact that they still insist on no, when I say no, it means no. So if the person wants it, even when they said no, they will be the one to ask for it, right? But I don't think it's not. How will I put it now? It's not like we're pricing something. And the word negotiation in a way kind of trigger me because I'm thinking we're talking as though we're talking about somebody that is doing some kind of trade by barter kind of thing, like a excuse my language, like a prostitute. There's no negotiation there. Yes or no. Yes or no. No in between. You want to do this? No, I don't want to do it. Wait, then you wait. That's it. But if you are talking about somebody that is selling something, a commodity which belongs to them, then you can negotiate your price or your demands or how you want it. Okay? I don't know if I've answered your question, but that's the way that I feel.
You answered my question, but then that also raised another issue in my mind because, and permit me, I may be wrong, okay, but
Yeah.
see, an average African woman, an average Nigerian woman will not say yes immediately when you say let's have sex. Okay? So that is why I was talking about negotiation. And let me go to Miss Ashwati to share our own thought on that. Then I'll come back to Mr. Yemi to share his man or experience and thought too. I'll come back to you, Deepika and Anne. Sorry. I see that Anne is raising her hands.
I think whenever I'm sorry, Paul, but whenever men speak about negotiation, it always comes from a place of, a lot of um, uh, what's the right word for it? Like I think it's a place of a privilege for people to speak about negotiation because it's quite interesting because like Abi pointed out for women and for women like us who are in the forum there is no in between yes and no. It's just like a two sided two ends of a spectrum and the spectrum in between is entirely empty. So it's either a clear yes or a clear no. And if a man feels that there is even a scope of negotiation, especially when there is no interest or no obligation to say yes, the women needs to like leave out of that scene without the man feeling offended. There is no point taking offense if the woman has said no. Take a hint and leave, please.
Oh, sorry, I'm muted. I was laughing actually because anyway, let me not say something. Let Mr. Ayemi, do you agree with that? As a man. And sorry, the reason I'm asking about the issue of does he agree with that is that I quickly wrote something down as both of them were talking because they are from the same, I mean, different
Hello?
society. Yes, please give me one seconds, please. See, Miss Abby grew up in Nigeria, lives in the UK for the past maybe over a decade. Now, Miss Ashwati is in India. All right, yet they are agreeing. Okay. Now, and I'm thinking that I quickly wrote down what about the difference in understanding about what consent is, or when to ask for consent, or how to ask for consent between the male and the female. So, Mr. Ayemi, please share your own thought about consent when it comes to sex.
Yeah, thank you. My own, it is not my personal view. It's a legal view. I believe people to let I am. This is how it is, and I am.
Your
Sense of view.
your voice is
To
breaking.
research Nigeria.
Your voice is
People like the
breaking. I
world.
can't hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Hello?
Go ahead
Hello?
now.
Okay, can you hear me now? Hello?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. When they are talking about consent, there is no, it doesn't have two meanings. It's just one meaning. It's us. It's a yes or no. And we need to, like I said earlier, we need to clarify one particular issue. A man can be assaulted. And this
Is
is
it
the
my?
issue. But hello?
I was thinking that your voice was cracking, or is it from my end? Uh, Miss Abby, were you able to hear him well?
I can hear you clearly.
No, we
Ah,
couldn't hear him very well. We couldn't hear him.
uh-huh. Your voice was breaking, was cracking actually. So I'm sure I couldn't hear what you were saying. Can you go ahead now? I
Yeah,
think his
can you hear me
network.
now? Issue of
Yeah, I can hear you
consent.
now.
When okay, good. Those who have spoken, they've clarified it correctly. Consent is either
Okay, your voice is not. We can't
That is
understand
the
anything
point of
from
law.
what you are
And someone
saying,
says no.
Mr. Yemi. I think I can't
Wow.
understand what you're saying. So I think there's your audio was just cracking and cracking. So um, could you
Okay,
please
sorry.
step out and come back
Let
in?
me my phone because I'm not home.
Okay. All right. While we
Okay.
wait for him to fix that, see, there's a question that I wanted to ask Deepika. Okay, maybe let me allow them. I think Mr. Yemi also probably was agreeing with the women that the issue of consent has to be yes or no, and perhaps both of them, Deepika and Anne, would also agree with him. But then the problem is where a situation whereby um, and I,
Can,
uh,
can you hear me now?
yes, I can hear you, but wait first.
All right.
Aha. So now your voice is good now.
Okay. Good.
Go ahead.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Thank you. I've listened to the previous speakers and they spoken correctly. Consent is yes. And I want to add this to what we have been discussing. There is something we call withdrawal of consent in law. Even if you have given, if either a man or a woman, it doesn't have to do with any gender, either of the parties. If you have given your consent and in the middle of the act, you withdraw it, you say, no, I'm okay with this, don't go ahead. If you continue, you will be charged for that offense. That's the law. But our concern in the legal balance is that at what stage, because the law says you must withdraw within a reasonable time. So, what is a reasonable time? That is the argument. But you must stop immediately so that you won't be charged for the offense of either rape. If you continue with other that the consent has allowed you to do, the other party has withdrawn that consent, you have become a criminal. You've committed a crime in that aspect. That's it. And the issue of negotiation or no negotiation, I don't think it should be the word negotiation should be used. It is either you get a consent of the other party or you don't get it. There is no partial consent. If the person is not giving consent, leave it. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm speaking, and I don't want to. I am not an illiterate when it comes to the issue of sex, but I am trying to be as factual as I can be. You know, look, there is nobody that has ever. I've related with many young men, and I've asked them both in Nigeria and here in Asia. I've asked them, who told you about sex? Who was the first person that told you about sex? And many young men will tell you they either find out why practicing it, or they watch porn. You understand? So now I am speaking on behalf of majority of the male that the way you are presenting consent is not the same thing as the way most male sees it. You understand? Because like what somebody is saying here, there's a comment here. He's saying that uh, can seduction or law to sex be a sexual harassment? Because the way the analysis is going now, 90% of Nigerians will be likely corporate. That's a fact. You would say, okay, maybe I probably have lured somebody then. It could also be my wife or my girlfriend or my sex partner who is an adult. You understand? So, and we are still I'm hanged with the issue of consent here, and I want to ask Deepika: is it when somebody say, "Oh, okay," let me even ask a straight question, and the straight question is, this is I'm a Nigerian, and this is India. And I want to ask Deepika, do women in India tends to say, how do I don't have the right word. Maybe you want to do, but then you first of all act as though you don't want to do. You are interested culturally in Nigeria. You are not supposed to say yes, even when the guy talks to you. When I was growing up and beginning to have girlfriend, the girl, when you talk to a girl and she says yes immediately, you immediately have a sense that that girl is cheap, that she's easy. So every girl, an average Nigerian girl, wants to prove difficult, and I'm thinking that Madam Abi will will agree with me that this is the normal belief, And with people who have that kind of belief or that kind of understanding that a girl needs to prove difficult. In fact, culturally, the girl needs to prove difficult. If she doesn't prove difficult, then we would talk about it. In Nigeria, boys talk about sex. Most women don't talk about it, but boys talk about it. That girl is cheap. You understand? So I want to ask Deepika, is it the same thing here that a girl also needs to prove that she's difficult?
Okay, so what I've understood about the question is you want to ask if a woman or a lady consents to have sex immediately because she wants to, she will be considered cheap. Is that a thing in India?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So, as far as I have seen around me, if you say that, okay, I really want to have sex in front of your partner in a closed space, I don't think it does matter. But if you talk about society as a whole, doesn't really matter if you want to have sex immediately or after 5 times asking or 10 times asking. If you're not married and you are having sex, you are cheap.
Okay.
It's like that in India. Anything out of a marriage tradition, marriage institution, anything is cheap. No matter how much efforts have you asked the guy to do for you, to lure you into it, to convince you for it or anything, you will be considered cheap according to society, if we are talking about that.
Okay. And you want to
So,
share a thought?
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
so,
okay.
okay,
Sorry,
you can
Deepika, you
add.
were
Deepika,
saying.
8 minutes.
Yeah,
Are you done?
yes, I can add later, and please go.
Okay.
So,
And
sex is something which I don't know about other culture. I think in every culture, women are told not to enjoy sex, or it's not something meant for women. So we are told to say no to it. So like it doesn't matter if you're in a relationship, or like not. I don't know about relationships, but even outside relationship, even having casual flings, women who come who says like, yeah, I want it, they're considered to be loose or not do not have morals or something, or like she's easy, or she like do it with everyone. So I think culturally everywhere women are told to say no to sex, and it is something sex is something which is perceived to be something that is only supposed to be enjoyed by men, and women are just something that provide men that sort of pleasure.
okay, and thank you very much. You see, this again points to patriarchy system, whereby it's like it's the men that are supposed to enjoy it. It's the men that is always asking. Actually, in most cases, it is the men that's always asking, and the women, scarcely is interested. And I've been saying something. I may be wrong. I'm still waiting to be proved wrong. That an average Nigerian woman doesn't. Majority of them just have sex to keep their marriage or to keep their relationship going because the guy is always wanting. You know. So now I'm going to ask Miss Ashwadi. When you look at our culture, our society, is could it be that our lack of understanding, our illiteracy when it comes to the issue of sex, could it actually be encouraging sex and this kind of my own negotiation that I'm talking about? And like Deepika said, that when you're a woman in India, you're not supposed to have sex, outside of marriage. And so whether it is consent or it is not consent, it's not even important. The society is not expecting you to have it, so you can't even talk about the fact that, oh, my boyfriend lure me or force me, or that kind of a thing.
Um, so if you ask me, like, I do agree to a very certain extent that yes, it could be like having uh, not much literacy in the idea of sex or what it entails, how it works, how uh, the terms like orgasm, consent, masturbation, all of these things are very alien to us, although we do these things in our closed spaces. But like somebody mentioned, like out in the open, it's like, oh my god, you're doing all of these things.
Mm,
So the the point that we need to address is how do we normalize these things to for us to be okay to discuss these things in schools, in colleges, in any platforms where these things need to be addressed in. Because otherwise, like you said, aspects like negotiations will happen where it should not happen. And of course, like it does play a part, like being literate in sex education does play a part. Unfortunately, we as an Indian society, um, we are not okay with girls sleeping with men outside of marriage, but at the same time we believe in the idea of arranged marriages where the girls are expected to walk into a stranger's home and have sex with him on the very first day, even when they have no knowledge of that person, or maybe like meeting him for the first time on the day of the marriage. So there is a very a very dichotomous way how the whole thing works out. So I don't really know where the Indian society stands at the moment, because on one hand we are discouraging people from enjoying sex, engaging in safe healthy sex, knowing what it is in it for them, understanding what safe sex is all about, understanding what consent is all about, and at the same time um, uh, encouraging a culture where you are actually like pushing a woman into an unknown space. So there is sex education plays a huge part, but more than that, again, it boils down to you know men control, the the patriarchal systems, the dominations, everything.
okay, thank you, Miss. I would go back to the lawyer, but before I go back to him, I want to quickly ask Miss Abby. And I'm asking her because she's have a background in Nigeria, and you know, and it's still going back to the issue of negotiation. You see, some of the people that are commenting here on the comment section, they are saying it's like the issue of negotiation is being misunderstood. And earlier, if you noticed, I was trying to say,
Stop using that word, Paul. Stop saying negotiation. You are
I
banned.
agree, Paul. I agree, Paul.
Do
Please stop
not
using that
use
word.
negotiation when it comes
Yeah.
to consent.
oh my God. Okay. Okay. You would see a point now. You would see a point with me why I'm saying why I'm using the word. All right. And this is the issue. If my theory is right, and I'm going to ask the lawyer too, if my theory is right, that an average Nigerian woman would say no when you ask her first, even your wife, okay, would say no. And if I ask my wife, for instance, and she said no, and then I should forget about it and go to sleep. That's the implication. Uh, really? Okay, Miss
Paul,
Abby,
then,
uh, uh,
okay.
Madam Abby, please, I want you to help
I,
me
I, I
here.
think I think you kind of put me on the spotlight here, and I'll be as factual as I can.
Okay.
First, I'll answer the question on the platform, which talked about sexual harassment. Sexual harassment could come in any form, and I would agree that it's not limited to a man. So a woman could actually harass a man sexually. So, but do you know what sexual harassment means? So we all need to equip ourselves to know exactly what is what before we can say, oh, this lady is harassing me sexually, or the other way around. So this is not a one street thing. Now, back to your question, which is an interesting question. Now, in our context, we can what you're doing is you are trying to take something from the head rather than going from the root, the grassroots of it. The grassroots of it is that how knowledgeable is those people that are asking the question, that are negotiating, husband and wife that are negotiating. What is the cultural belief? We have a cultural rape culture whereby, like Aswati said, it's all about a woman living for a man. So if that is the culture, if my husband, for instance, asks me and say, "Oh, I want to do," and I said no, he has the right, if I belong to those school of thought, to do whatever. Because and as at that time, because of my knowledge, say I don't know anything about rape, consent, and all that, I'll be like, this man is only doing this because he's my husband, right? Because that is the culture. But because I know my right, if I say no, it simply means no. Now, so an average Nigerian, which you're trying to bring into this picture, because of lack of awareness, they might just consent. Now, this boils down, it's not limited. And like I said, I read an article before I joined in a group where I am. Special shout out to those group, Scott Life. Somebody invited me. There's an interesting group where you laugh, and they make me laugh almost every time. A lady actually raped her husband. And because the lady was looking for a child, the man was like, okay, we've tried and this is not working. I want to go my separate ways. And the guy wants to go. But the lady was like, I've been with this guy for so long, and you can't just go. So what the lady did was she kind of do something to the guy's drink. I'm trying to remember scantily now. Do something to the guy's drink, and she actually slept with the guy without the guy's consent. Now, because it's a lady, it's close to home. Now, I could sugarcoat this and say, oh, yeah, at least I can understand. It's because of the long years. You know what? A rape is a rape, regardless of who commits that rape. Do you understand what I mean? So when we are talking about husband seeking consent, in an ideal world, if someone says no, you have to, you can ask questions. Why is the no? Now you should know the kind of wife that you got married to. Maybe your wife is somebody that is looking for something. Your wife is struggling. Maybe there should be an underlying reason why she says no. Or maybe those women, that the person that you got married to, maybe something has happened to her in the past. Maybe somebody raped her, God forbid, I don't know, and she's always struggling. Because of that, she doesn't want sex. So you can't, somebody that's struggling due to trauma, you can't go and sleep with that person and be saying, oh, because it's my wife, because it's my wife, because it's my wife. So that is why when somebody's saying no, an average Nigerian, they say no. If you ask them why no, they can't explain, because we were taught to shut up growing up. As a lady, you listen to a man. Going back to patriarchy, you listen. Your husband is your head. You have to listen. No explanation. You're not allowed to explain. Should I go on?
Yeah, try
Thank
it,
you.
please.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Um, okay, the princess is here now. You're welcome, princess. If you can hear me, I will come back to you. Okay, thank you. Well, I'll come back to you, but then I will quickly go to the lawyer now. And the lawyer also kind of was agreeing with the woman. I mean, with the women. When you look at the issue of negotiation, like Madam Abi couldn't say yes or no, and I understand the politics here. Okay, it's okay, but I'm a Nigerian man, all right, and I understand that maybe, and I want to stand on the woman's side by saying I understand that the issues such as the mutilation of the sexual area, maybe might actually be responsible to the reason why some of the women don't really enjoy sex. So if I don't enjoy sex, why should I be having sex just for your sake? You understand? So it might be reason why a woman will say no. And if she's not able to understand it, like Madam Abi said, but then the issue of negotiation, because I am a gentleman, okay, and being a gentleman means that I can negotiate, So let me hear the lawyer. What do you think about the issue of negotiation? There are people here saying that, maybe there is a misconception or a misunderstanding about this issue of negotiation. What's your thoughts?
Thank you. Let me, the quote and unquote, that's a negotiation. Consent can be made orally, it can be made by conduct. It's either of the two. But at what stage does your heart cross the line of that criminal stage? This is what I want us. I have Nigeria background, but the issue there is that you will know a partner who is willing to do your bid, who is willing to give in to what you are asking for. She doesn't or he doesn't. The two of them. It's not a must that they must say yes or no. The action can say that. But that is what the court will interpret if you get to court. Because how about someone who cannot speak? It is through conduct. It is through the body language. But we men know when someone wants, even women, they know when men want it. The issue there is that you will understand the person you are dealing with. But when it is getting to a stage that you are forcing that person and you are going against his or her wishes, you have crossed that line. But the issue we should look at, like Nigeria issue, that scenario in Nigeria, I will use an example. It happened to me when I studied sociology in my first degree before I went for law. And I know about the societal culture and everything. So it happened that I was with a lady and I asked how far, and we were in the middle of it. She was saying, in order to corroborate with Mr. Paul's position. And she said no. And we were already half naked. And I said, thank you. I put up my clothes and we were going out. And she said, you could not even pressurize me a bit. And I said, I don't do that. And I had to leave. And when we outside, and when she said that, she said, okay, let's go back. I'm done. You will understand the person. You will understand the body language. But the moment that you are struggling with the person, no. That is when you have crossed that line.
Okay. Now, you see, he kind of alluded to my point here. You see, the lady was expecting, some form of negotiation. She wants him to talk about it. Now, I'm going to ask Deepika whether, and I know that you are not married, so perhaps the question will come back to Ms. Ashwati, and then I'll ask Anne as well, and perhaps the princess. And the question is this: at what point, for people in relationship now, whether married or courting or dating or whatever you want to call it, at what point do you how do you recognize when somebody is trying to play hard to get? I hope this word hard to get is something that's common in Nigeria. I don't know whether you understand it, Deepika. Do you understand it when somebody is playing hard to get?
Yeah, like they are trying to show that they are not interested so that the other person feels like, oh, they are like very pricey and all. That's that
Aha.
what you mean.
Yes.
See, I like how I don't know how to pronounce the name. Mr. Iene, is that what it is?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I like how he said that the moment the lady said that you didn't negotiate it or you didn't try to convince me, and he said, I don't do that. It's very simple. Either it's a yes or it's a no. Are you like, what is more important for you? Having sex with the other person or making sure that you don't get behind bars? Or making sure that you don't cross your boundaries, making sure that you don't give a scar or emotional trauma to someone else. One time sex is not that important, but leaving somebody with a trauma, leaving somebody with a scar that the other person might not be able to come out of, I think We need to be that mindful to see that if you delay having sex with someone, that's fine. But if in this moment you prioritize having sex with that person and scarring them for life, that's not fine. No matter if you're in a relationship or out of a relationship, or it's just a one night stand or whatever else it is.
Okay, Devika, thank you. Now, if I am dating somebody or I'm in a relationship with somebody or I'm in a relationship with my wife, if I have to worry about maybe I could go to jail, then there will be trouble already in the relationship. If I have to worry about that, that, oh, I have to be careful so that I don't go to jail. In a relationship, that see, I'm trying to speak on behalf of the larger guys that are not on this show. And if I knew that we are going to have this many women, I would have bring a lot of men also to speak for themselves, so that I don't have to be speaking on their behalf. Anne seems to be, I can't see her face
Mr. Paul,
clearly.
sorry. Let me come in. Mr. Paul,
Okay,
sorry.
okay,
I'm a man.
quickly.
It's
Okay,
not about the issue of men or women. It's about the
okay,
point of law. Let me clear this thing that people don't know. It is because many you see both men and women have been assaulted constantly in every society. But because the law has not been catching up with them, that is why. But in the United Kingdom, you can't do it. Even your wife, you must not go against her wish. She must not go against your wish. That's just it.
mm,
And even in everywhere, in every society, because law is universal, there is something called restitution of conjugal rights. That is one of the grounds that you can use for divorce. If it continues for a very long time and the two of you are not meeting, the only thing you can do is to divorce. Do not force the
okay,
person. You cannot go against his wish. You cannot go against her wish. That's just it. No should always be no at any stage.
okay, okay. Thank you. Now, I will come back to Miss Aswati. Let me quickly ask the princess. She's joining us from Nigeria, and she's a royal princess. Actually, she's the regent of her town. So, Kabiesio, I hope I'm greeting you very well, the way I should. Okay. So now I want to ask her a question about education, about sex, about rape and stuff like that. What is happening in Nigeria? So, Princess, please, can you give your own observation and in your society?
Yeah, I appreciate being on this show together with everyone on ground, and I would like to apologize. I had an impromptu meeting that came up by 4, and apologize for joining late. Concerning education on sex education, rape, and other sexual issues, I would say we have education going on in this country, but it is not adequate. We have sensitization going on sex education, both formally and informally, for boys and girls, and even people that are adults already. So I would say, for in a good way, we have uh, education going on. Then, when it comes to like my community, that is a semi-urban community, or more or less like, although a little bit above a rural community, I would say in programs that we've had situations that we organize programs or we include this issue of sex and rape in our programs, especially with young people. So, and generally, when it comes to the media, when it comes to sensitization, the social media, the Nigerian social media space, we have this topic of sex education, rape, very hot on the Nigerian social media space, and even the conventional media. So I would say, although not adequate, but education is ongoing. People are being sensitized. We have our young girls being aware now. Everyone is speaking out, although not yet to the point of or not yet at the point where we would say yes, this issue has been sufficiently taken care of. But in a good way, I would say the society is getting more aware. People are getting more aware. Parents are teaching their children, both formally and informally. Even the church, the religious setting, both the three forms of religion that are being practiced. People are getting more aware. People are speaking in churches. Seminars are organized, even in the mosque, on concerning the issue of sex and rape.
Thank you so much, Princess. I want to go to Miss Ashwati, and the question I want to ask you is this: in a relationship or in a marriage, for instance, where the one of the parties does is not interested, and the other guy is interested, what should we do to avoid, sexual assault or harassment?
Firstly, like I would like to address like one thing that you asked in the previous question, I think, to Deepika. So you spoke about how there are occasions where women are hard to get. I honestly, I don't like these labels associated with women, because that is not uh, it's not a gender normative thing, this hard to get. It's across all genders. Some people choose to acknowledge this openly, saying that okay, fine, I want to engage in sex. Some people don't want to acknowledge it openly, but labeling that a specific gender is hard to get as opposed to the other is not something I associate with. Having said that, I do feel that like for any party who is involved in a relationship, to ensure that it does not result in a sexual assault, there has to be a lot of mutual respect in terms of the space, in terms of each other, the kind of respect and understanding they share, and love comes way after. So when I was looking for a husband, one thing that my parents, so they asked me to, so in India we have this matrimonial system where we upload our bio, our profile, onto a website where strangers all over the world can see like what all we've been up to. And then from like hundreds of profiles, maybe like you choose one man with whom you are supposed to spend the rest of your lives with. As woke as I am, I ended up choosing the same path because all the relationships I have had were like majorly screwed up. So the decisions I made for myself were quite bad in taste. So I relied on my parents for choosing the right guy for me. Thankfully, I only ended up, choosing the husband. um, the point in that was, one thing I made it clear to my future potential partners was that the first thing I'm looking for in a partner is for him to respect me as a woman. That is the baseline for me. If you respect me as a woman, inadvertently all of the other things will, it'll just follow. So for me, priority in order to ensure that any relationship is successful is rooted in this very basic thing of respecting me as a woman and me respecting him as a man, and us respecting each other in whatever space we are sharing. And not all relationships end in sexual assault if these things, these little things like respect, understanding, and making sure that mutual consent is taken care of, then I feel like, in my opinion, like sexual assault is not the end for every relationship.
Thank you very much. Now, I want to ask Deepika, what's your understanding of um, rape culture?
Rape culture, right? So I think yesterday only I was talking about rape culture to you.
Yeah.
So my understanding of rape culture is, so whenever we talk about rape, we hear about rape cases and all. First thing which would pop up in a normal Indian family if discussions are going on would be, what was she wearing, who was she with, at what time did she go out. Like, there will be all these factors upon which everyone will decide if that girl deserved to be treated that way or not. So these all discussions, these all thought processes, all that contribute to rape culture. Our daily way thinking of women, our language that we talk, how we choose our cuss words. They are usually about female genitalia. They are about how disrespectfully we see females. All that contribute to rape culture. Rape culture is how in our daily lives we objectify women. Like, even when I say that, oh, look at that woman, she is not looking that attractive because she is not that curvy, or maybe she's not that, back in college days, how we had this spot where all the guys will come and sit down just because they wanted to gaze at women. How good they are looking. Oh, this woman is this beautiful and she's this curvy. Oh, I would love to have sex with this woman. And it would happen openly. And a lot of people would come see this and be a part of it, laugh, but nobody would even dare to, pick them up and say that this is wrong. It is all a part of rape culture. It is how we are living in every day. The way we don't actually give a thought that it doesn't really matter that whatever a girl was wearing or who was she out with, nobody deserves to be raped, nobody deserves to face, you know sexual assault. Like, being a lady, I have been in a situation where, you are being touched some wrong way, and trust me, uh, you go through it for a very long time. You go through it for years and years, and it takes a lot of therapy, a lot of self love, and a lot of other things to come out of it. So rape comes a little too far, actually. So my understanding of rape culture is how demeaning we are towards women, how we objectify them in our day to day lives, and how we want them to fit into the square of good women, you know, cultured women that should stay inside kitchen maybe, or the moment they step outside kitchen, oh no no, they don't deserve respect anymore because they are not at all cultured now. These all things contribute to rape culture.
Hmm. Thank you, Deepika. It's touching, you know. Unfortunately, I don't. I know better now, but if I would speak as a regular guy, I would say I was talking to Madam Abi a few days ago, and I was telling her that if you meet me or some of the people that I grew up with, we probably doesn't really have a word for the what all these things that we are discussing today. And there are millions of people around the world like that who don't really have a clear understanding of this subject. And unfortunately, yet, it is still a taboo, even talking about it like this in many societies around the world. Anyway, I'm going to ask Anne. Anne, how do you think, why is it that we associate the way a woman, and I'm saying a woman now, the way a woman dress? Because I know that in many of our societies, we think, okay, the way a woman dress or dresses is associated with how she's treated. You know, when you look at Tosh, I've been one day I was traveling in Lagos, even though it's many years ago. Those are maybe one of those times that I newly came to Lagos, and I saw a woman because she was wearing something that is revealing, you know, and she was being dragged, as in people were touching her dress in the open, you know, in the bus stop. People were touching her, you know, some of the people here might know where I'm talking about. They were touching her and saying, ah, Ashawo means prostitute, you know, in the open, in the daylight. Many men, you know, it took some guys to come and rescue this lady. So I don't think such would happen again in Lagos, but at least it happened, you know. So now I'm asking you, Anne, why is it that we think that, you know, how a woman dress is what could make her a victim of rape or sexual assault? Or
So, Paul, I'm talking in relation to my society, my country. So, in our country, an ideal woman is the one who always covers her head, does not is always modest. You know, her clothes are prim and proper, does not show too much skin. So, if she's all that, then she's a good girl. Then she's a good woman. Okay, she is to be praised. She is to be worshipped and everything. But when you see a woman who is not clothed properly, or if she's showing too much skin, she's considered to be characterless, because that sort of culture has been taught to us, that this sort of mindset has been put into our mind since from the beginning. I was told as a when I was growing up that you're always supposed to cover yourself. When I turned 13, my mother told me that cover yourself, don't wear tight clothes, because there are men in the streets. Or she would tell me, go wear something that covers your legs because your uncle is coming home. Why do I have to cover myself? Since when did my skin, or showing my skin, gives permission to other, or is it like an invitation for men, or people in general, to touch me inappropriately, or to for rape, basically? So we live in our society. If you do not put yourself into the societal standard, or you do not follow societal norms, you deserve to be raped. Women, there are multiple cases like that. I have some experiences when we were young. Um, I had friends who would say, and I've heard big elder people say that she's not dressing well. Somebody might rape you, or cover yourself. Somebody might, look at you, or touch you inappropriately. So we have put this mindset, or we have built this idea that a good woman is a woman who covers herself, who's modest, and the one who doesn't is immoral, characterless, and is asking for it. So raping her, assaulting that person is okay.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much. Now, I want us to close as soon as we can, and because it's late out here, but I want to get hold on Miss Ashwati, and I want you to, while I ask you this question, I want you to think about it a little bit, and I'll come back to you while you answer it. So, because I want to go to Miss Abby first. But the question I want to ask you, Miss Ashwati, is one in two because of our time. I mean, two in one rather. One of them is, how do we help those who are healing? Because I found out that, like some of the women that are here, they have this experience while they were children. Yes, it is still fresh in their memory. you know Miss Abito told me about this, that she could have been a victim. She told me about how she cried, and it was her crying and pleading that let this man let her go. It is still fresh in our brain. And so many other people like that, they are suffering, and they are not talking about it. So you, as a therapist, as a PhD, a PhD scholar in social work, I want you to talk about how do we heal, both men and women who are suffering or struggling somewhere around the world. I want you to answer this question. If you can combine it with the issue of pedophilia. It is believed that this is a psychological issue, and then do they ever get healed? As much as you can talk about that within a short minute. Now, to you, I'll come back to you to answer that, Mr. Shuati. But Madam Abi, how do you create, you as a parent who has female children, how do you create a safe environment at home? But the children also go out. How do we create a safe environment generally?
It's just to make a lot of awareness, really. They need to be aware. I intend every time to make sure that I keep repeating it. Your body belongs to you. If there is anything, they should be free to tell me. And regardless of my thought process at that point, I need to believe them. This is one of the reasons why a lot of people struggle to tell them, because we from my culture, it's all about the fact that you're trying to shame an adult, particularly if they're professionals, if they're trusted uncles, family members, and all that, they are not going to believe. I shared something with you about a particular doctor. I was poorly, I was having stomach pain, and whilst I was going through that, my stomach pain, the doctor, I told my father that I wanted to wear a very free gown so that I don't become an attractive person. So I went to this doctor with my father, and he told my father to excuse him. But the doctor was a friend to my father. And before we know it, all the man was asking me, as a doctor, they could ask you some sensitive questions. And as soon as he asked me these magic questions, which was, when was the last time you had sex? And I said, at 17, I think I was 17 going to 18 or 18 going to 19. And I said, it's been a while. And I have never had sex, but I didn't want to say that so that I don't, I was trying to make sure I behave right, I act right, I don't say anything that will make him feel like, I'm a prey. But because I said it's been a while, that it's been 2 years, he saw me as a good prey. And he gave me a card to see him in his guest house. Like I said, I was matured enough and I know what it means. But when I got home, telling my father, bless his soul, blessed memory to him, when I told him, he said, no. My friend's a trusted person, is a doctor, is a professional. We went to school together, is somebody, all the accolades. So he didn't believe me. But thank goodness I do have a card. And I said, this is the card of your so-called trusted friend. And then it flipped. What if there was no proof? So I've given my children that sense of belonging to know that it doesn't matter. It's your word against the world. So whatever they tell me, as much as I'm assessing that information in my head, I'm never going to disapprove it. I'm never going to say, oh no, do you think, are you sure? What were you wearing? All those things are not going to come from me. So if I make myself somebody that my kids could talk to in under any circumstance, either they're the wrong person or they're the right person, that would give them that avenue to be able to express themselves. There is any danger. And a lot of awareness. And this goes back to, the society as a whole, to make sure that people are educated about their rights. Your body belongs to you, regardless. It doesn't belong to your uncle. It doesn't belong to a stranger in your community. It doesn't belong to your father. Whoever that is, your body belongs to you. And if on the flip side, if it's a father to a child or whatever, this goes beyond one gender. But I know that is predominantly common among women. And so for the people that like to say me too, it happens to boys too, it happens to, I'm pleading, please, let's hold on a second and let's deal with those ones who are suffering from it the most. Who this is happening to most times. Let's look at that. Those people, I was talking to somebody recently and they said, look at how this lady dressed. She's dressing too artificial. Who gave you the right to tell a lady how to dress? Who? So it starts from there. Thank you.
Thank you. I love that. Who gave him or her the right to tell a woman how to dress? I do tell, people who cares to listen to me, especially guys, that a woman is sexy. And I'm sorry, and I'm sure that, some of my colleagues here may not like me saying a woman is sexy, but a woman is sexy regardless whether she cover from head to toe. You understand? So her dressing is very secondary. That's just my perspective, though. And I expect a lot of people will disagree with me. So, Ms. Ashwati, please take it away from there. And then I'll come back to the princess. I'm sorry that... go ahead.
So I think the first part you asked me was about healing, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think in my opinion, or even in general, I feel that when it comes to healing, what we need to understand is that there is a lot of this idea of victim shaming that we contribute to as a society, voluntarily or involuntarily. Whenever we see the like news reports of rape, it's always written that a woman was raped. It's never written that a man raped a woman or a man raped XYZ. It's always written a woman was raped. So, as a global community, healing comes with the fact that you need to acknowledge that it is whoever perpetrated the crime needs to be at the center of attention rather than the victim or the prey. It always has to be the predator, so that we acknowledge the fact that it is those kind of people whom we must not, encourage or just attribute to that further at all. Secondly, healing also comes with the understanding that it is not the victim's fault. It is not the person who has experienced the assault to be held responsible for whatever happened to him or her or they. So, that if that acceptance is there, that it is not my fault, it is not based on what I wore, whom I was with, what time of the day I was out, it was not my fault. The eyes of the person who did this to me was wrong, the intent of the person who did this to me was wrong, the monster this person was who did this to me was the person who was wrong. It is not my fault. Healing comes primarily with that understanding and acceptance. Second aspect of the question is that how do we encourage people from these things to go further. I would say that as a community we need to stop focusing on restorative and rehabilitative aspects. We need to focus on how can we prevent this from the scratch. What are the things that can help us as a society to not create people who look children or look at women or look at any weaker or so-called person with the idea that, oh, he or she looks weak, I can control them. So if that mindset has to change, we need to focus on purely preventative measures, primarily being sex education. Teaching your kids that you can trust us, creating safe spaces in homes, schools, and any place where everybody, especially children, go. When children are empowered to understand that what their rights are as individuals, sexually, emotionally, physically, or otherwise, half of the job is done. Because once we are empowering our children to identify what assault looks like, or any like invasive uh, incidents look like, they will automatically understand that, okay, fine, this is where I need to raise an alarm. So sex education, empowering kids, and ultimately obviously having really strong um, uh, uh, I would say, like, really strong justice measures in place. Um Under in our Indian society, we do have, thankfully, the the prevention of sexual act against children. So that act does ensure that anybody who commits any crime against children will be heavily prosecuted. So thankfully that act is in place right now, but to what degree it discourages people like who prey on children, discourage them, I have no idea, because crimes against children are still happening on a day-to-day basis, and the stats just go up every day. So irrespective of the act in place, there are things which are happening wrong regardless of the situation. But still, the fact that such things are in place is proof enough of the fact that we acknowledge that something is wrong with our society, something is really screwed up with our society, and we need to fix it. So focusing on preventative factors other than restorative and rehabilitative aspects will go a really long way, in my opinion.
Okay. So you have left out the issue of pedophilia.
I'm sorry.
Pedophilia.
Yes, I did discuss about that, right?
No, I'm saying the people who prey on children,
Right.
Now, how do we handle them? Is it possible that treatment can work for them since we agree, or I mean, they has been defined as a psychological uh,
Right.
sickness? Can
Right.
they be treated?
Um, I am not sure if, you know, therapy is. See, a lot of people who do this may not be, psychologically ill. They may just, not be aware of how, or not have um, basic sex education. They may just see, at the end of the day, like all those people who rape, or all those people who do do sexual acts against women are not psychologically ill. They are they are predators. All right, and of course environmental factors do play a role in shaping them who they are and what they turn out to be. Not everybody can be fixed by uh, therapy. There are some people who need to be, you know uh, treated with the most serious of, punishments to ensure that they don't repeat this. When it comes to pedophilia, we do have justice measures in place. However, the just giving them therapy, I don't think it would make the cut, because uh, to even have the heart to, harm an infant, or like a 3 month old baby, or a 1 month old baby, it's not just in the head, it is just their whole existence which is wrong.
Okay, thank you so much. I was going to ask the princess the question, but she's gone now. Now, in closing, I want Deepika, I want you to share just briefly about false rape allegations. There have been, maybe by male or female, there have been a lot of it. Um, how do you think we are handling it as a society?
Mm, so I was thinking about this only. We all have heard about the Nirbhaya case that was there in 2012 December. Like it was a rape case which happened back in 2012 Delhi. Uh, so there was this comment which a very big religious leader passed back then, that if she would have begged the rapist by saying that please leave me brother, then she would have been safe. Like that was the whole quote that he passed, that she should have just prayed and maybe said that okay, you are my brother and all, then she should have been safe. And a lot of people endorsed it. Then there were people who endorsed that, oh, she was out in night with a guy, and that is where she was wrong. She deserved to go through it because she was out during night times. As a society, that's what we are still continuing to do. And I'm not ashamed to say that we lack there. We are faulty there. That we are judging women about, and not just women, even small girls, that how, what are they wearing, who are they hanging out with. There have been comments even about me that, oh, she hangs out with guys, obviously she would be having sex with most of them. If something happens to her, what's wrong? She anyways is doing it with a lot of guys.
Hmm.
So that's what we are faulty. That's where we need to understand that it doesn't really matter who am I hanging out with, or it doesn't really matter at what time do I choose to go out. There are questions raised whenever a lady is raped, that why did she go out so late? Was there something really important she needed to do at that time of an hour? How does it matter? I went out because I wanted to do something. I had some work, or maybe I just wanted to see a movie. Is that what is going to decide that should I be assaulted or not? Or should I be put in that situation or not? As a society, we need to maybe widen our perspective about all these things, where we just you know, narrow down everything to this small thing, this small, mindset, the narrowed down mindset of ours, that women should always be caged, that, she should just be that cultured woman wearing a dupatta on her chest and covering herself properly, sitting inside her room, being ready to get married by the time she gets 21.
Okay, thank you, Deepika. I'm going to ask Anne, and this will be my final question, unless if somebody else wanted to say something as we close now. I'm sorry I've taken your time so much. Miss, my special sorry to you. Now, Anne, can you hear me? Uh, I'm not sure if Anne
Yes,
is there.
Paul.
Okay.
I'm here.
No. Okay, thank you. Now, the question I want to ask you is the issue of and being in India for a while. I have been hearing people saying, "Oh, it's not safe for girls. It's not safe for women," and I have spoken in a few gatherings where I've said it's the society that is responsible. It's not actually the boys. You think, okay, it's because of the boys that it's not safe. No, it's because we keep saying that it is not safe, and hence we keep saying it is not safe. It will never be safe. And then we continue to make the women scared of going out. As much as there are men in societies who may be difficult, who might be wicked, there are also good guys who are willing to defend such women, who are willing to protect them in case something happens. And there are guys who are just good. I want to take Anne's response to that as we close.
So, Paul, since you know that I'm staying in, when I was staying in Kerala for that period of time, I was told by everyone, do not go out at night. It's not safe for you, girls. So, me and my roommate were like, why is it like that? And uh, and also, we were told to, always wear clothes that covered your body. So, my roommate and I, we had like a bunch of clothes that we couldn't wear because it was not considered safe in the street. But we don't realize why. We don't understand or talk about why is it safe on the street. We have to talk about that as well, like what makes it unsafe for the women out there. And right, true, what you said, that there are really good men who want to protect women, who would protect women and everything. But Paul, I mean, I will not take your word for that. I will not. I'm sorry. I will not allow, like, hear you saying, okay, you know what, and there are people out there, men out there who would protect you, but I don't need your protection. Till how long would I have to depend upon you to take your protection, to seek your protection? Why am I considered somebody that has to be protected? So we don't talk about, or discuss about these issues, and we just make a mindset that yes, you are not allowed to go out because it's not you're allowed to get sexually assaulted. So it becomes normal. We normalize this thing. I hope I'm audible.
You makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Anne. And I take the correction that women don't need protection, actually. So I take your I take your correction. Now I'm going to ask the princess. We're almost closing, and finally I'm going to ask the princess, how do we create a safe environment for both male and female to avoid sexual harassment and rape? Just in a few seconds, if you quickly answer that, and then we will close.
Yeah, I would actually start from the safe environment from home, and that has to do a lot with parenting. When it comes to sexual abuse, rape, pedophilia, and all other vices that exposes children to sexual assault or molestation, I think parenting has a whole lot of role to play to protect our children. That's from everything we've been talking about: sex education, building confidence in our children, allowing them to be able to confide in us as parents. Then when it comes to uh, our schools, the education is also there, the confidence is also passed, to our children at school. Even uh, another point of influence is our religious settings. You know, I mentioned it the other time. Religion, especially in this part of the world, has a lot of role to play when it comes to protecting children and giving them the safe environment to be able to speak out, to be able to talk, to be able to defend themselves. And above all, what is also important is a good judicial system that addresses sexual assault, especially that of children. A judicial system, a society where all these people are punished. I mean, the perpetrators. So when once people know that, okay, yeah, if I do this, I am going to be punished. This is not going to be swept under the rug. There is going to be justice, and even those that become victims, they know that there's going to be justice. I believe as more and more perpetrators are punished, then everyone will tend to feel safe, and those that are culprits will desist from such kind of action. So we need to build safe environment, starting from home, starting from parenting.
Thank you so much, Princess. And this is the end of it for me. So I still have some questions, but I think we have spent a lot of time. So just in case you quickly want to say something that I have not asked you, you have a few seconds. And in the absence of that, I will say, Deepika, you want to say something? No?
I was just wanted to add to that thing that we were saying that that it's not safe for women to go out late and all that thing. For me, what I believe is, as an Indian family, they don't give much concern about a woman getting raped or assaulted or anything. For them, that actually what actually matters is the prestige of the family. That if something happens to her, what will happen to the prestige of the family? Oh, we won't be respected enough, because for them the whole prestige resides there, maybe with the woman of with the lady of the house, uh, getting her married at the right age and all. So if something happens to her and the society knows about it, how will we get her married? How will she lead a normal life? Nobody will respect us anymore. So more than what it will do to a lady, it is about the respect that they will lose, the pseudo respect that they will lose in the so-called society.
Thank you, Deepika. Um, Miss, you want to say something or we just call it close?
Okay.
Oh my,
Uh,
my mic was
okay.
on the whole time.
Yeah, it was off actually.
Oh, I'm really
So,
sorry.
sorry, excuse me. My wife is just correcting me now that it is not princess, that it is Her Royal Highness. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
My wife is just sending me a message now that SH, it is not princess, it is Her Royal Highness. I'm sorry, correction taken. Okay, Mr. Ashwati, you want to say something before we close now?
Um, so I think first of all, thank you, Paul, for bringing this topic up because not many men are ballsy enough to face like a huge group of women uh, bashing you left, right, and center and correcting you at every sentence, literally latching onto every word to like possibly correct you. But to be honest, like hats off to you to be actually speaking about these things because uh, although we like as a community women do have an opportunity to speak up about our issues, more often than not it always ends up in the game where but not all men, but you were careful enough not to throw the axe on your own feet. So I'm very proud of you, I think. So you
Thank you,
played it
Miss.
safe all the way till the end. I am not sure about the questions you had planned towards the end, but I am sure you played it safe. But thank you for this opportunity. It was really, really fun. And to meet all of these incredible women Like it's an absolute honor. So
Thank you,
thank
Miss.
you. Thank you,
Thank you
Paul.
so much. I want to say special thank you to Her Royal Highness and Deepika. Deepika, my friend. Deepika is, very close to me, and she's been like my Indian child. She's my mentee. She's my very close friend, and you know, she continued to be my Indian family. And Almas, who is not here today, we understand for her. And Anne has been a close friend of mine, whom I've met recently, and we are getting closer. So thank you so much, Miss. I'm very grateful that I can reach out to you and you honor this call. And to take on this, I mean, to continue this discussion, I'm going to bring men. I'm going to force them if I have to. And the issue of consent is what I want to discuss. I want men to openly talk about it. How do they seek consent? Unfortunately, we've seen consent from the viewpoint of women. Maybe I get some of these women also to come join us, but I'm soon looking up to it, such that I want to, and I'm going to look for men from different society as well. And I like the fact that this one is also intercultural, and we see how related it is. I've been saying that I see a lot of similarities in the societies between Nigeria and the Indian society. There are a lot of things that we share in common. So, and I love this. Thank you very, very much. Miss Abi said her phone
I'm
is
here.
beginning to. Ah,
I'm here.
okay. I can't see your
I'm
face.
here.
That's why I think
Yeah,
maybe.
my face covered for now. I was going to
Okay.
say something. I'm giving a shout out to the governor of I think it was in Kaduna.
Okay.
He approved a particular law. I think it was last year, and it was about a surgical kind of law whereby anyone that raped a child and under age under 14, they need to be castrated before they are sentenced to life imprisonment. So a special shout out to him. And also, he didn't stop at that. If a lady did the same thing, they're going to remove the fallopian tube. You can search that. They're going to remove the fallopian tube before the person get executed. Now, there were information about that to say that it's still not enough. So we don't know where we are going to get to, but thank you for having me here.
Thank you very much. But I think that is partial to the men, because if you cut the penis of the man,
Yeah.
and then you remove the fallopian tube, which is inner, many women don't want to. There are women who don't want to have children, so she's practically
Yeah,
lost
but they're
nothing.
still going to be
Anyway,
executed. They're still going to be
ah,
executed either way.
and that
Both
that is
both
better.
parties, particularly if they're under 14. And for
Okay,
the people who are above 14 as well, they go through that, but they're still going to be executed. So I don't know. And that's why I said it was questionable, because there are people saying, is that enough? It's not
yeah,
even
okay,
enough. Yeah, because of the trauma that it causes people afterwards. I've
okay.
shared my experience and I still live with it. How many years am I now? More than 20 something years ago. I still live with that trauma. So it's not enough.
Wow.
To castrate somebody is not enough. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you, Harry Ernest. Thank you very much. I'm grateful that you decided to join us on the platform. And thank you. I can't thank you enough. I'm going to be thanking you even after this time. And Miss, thank you so much. Regards to you. She's a very good teacher. She's one of the teachers that taught me briefly in India that I fall in love with. So thank you very, very much. Kudos. Good night from here.